Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your VCT China playoffs. We are here bringing you all the action as we kick things off with a bang. I am here with the #1 all games believer. The Snow Spy has graciously allowed us to be in his presence for today. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good knowing that everybody should bow down below me now. None of you had faith. None of you believed in stage 1. And I mean, why would you? It was a 0-5 team. But here we are now, second seed in the playoffs, looking to make that deep playoffs run that they deserve.
Yeah, you know what? They took themselves into the down season. They were at the bottom of the stairs, trying on different shoes, trying to make sure which one was that Cinderella shoe to fit. And so I think you came up with the solution on exactly what has happened. Why have all gamers actually turned into what their name suggests and become all gamers?
I mean, to be honest, I think most of it comes down to this 10-person roster. Yes, we're not seeing many subs. We've only pretty much seen one sub in the season with Hanchi coming in pretty much game 2, match 2 of the split. But the fact that you have this 10-person squad means you constantly get to scrim in parameters that suit you. If an enemy team makes a play and you're like, we like that strat, but how do we counter it? Just have the 5 subs run that exact strat, figure out a counter, and it has done wonders for their prep. And I think the second part to all gamers' success has been their consistency in their comps. Most of their comps, apart from Bind, run a Viper, run a Scan Initiator, and normally have a Neo. So when you're running pretty much the same comp on every map you play, it becomes very easy to just know your playstyle.
Yeah, the comfortability, if that's what you want to call it. They've gone basically to DFS, gone to the sale, and instead of picking up multiple sofas, they've just picked up the one that seems the best, the one that they're going to be comfiest in, get themselves relaxed in, playing that double controller meta as heavy as possible, and they're chilling with it. I like that. So basically you're saying that all gamers are the EG of this era.
Okay, I guess the issue is this: they could make that same kind of EG level run, and you know.
So they're going to. Are you saying they're going to win Toronto? Is that what you're just saying right now? Snow has predicted all gamers to win Toronto.
Toronto happened. We're going to Paris now, mate. You're in the past.
I'm flying to the wrong French.
But I mean. Things aside, predictions, I'm not even on there. I don't even need to be on there because people already know where my predictions are going to land. We know I'm on the All Gamers squad. But on the flip side, Veggie, while I hype up the squad of All Gamers, talk to me about why your prediction is Tyloo.
Well, okay, we're just going to pretend that it wasn't a misclick and we'll just gloss over that, right? That's where we're going to go with this. I'm looking through it. I'm looking at people like Ninebody, right? I'm expecting them to step up. All gamers, like you said, have typically played the same composition throughout the whole map. Yes, there's been little tweaks into it, right? But the overall strategy is the same. And for Tyloo, they just need to look at one map and they can almost come up with a counter-action plan to that, right? You don't need to then do like macro basis on every single map of this is how they're going to play Lotus, this is how they're going to play Sunset. Listen, this is a team that's going to ban Ascent, so you don't even need to worry about that. You can just focus on one composition, how you beat the double controller meta, and you're straight through it. And for Tyloo, it's going to happen. I have faith, surely.
The issue is though, brother, how do you prep against all gamers? They play every map. They don't care what map they go to. They're like, no Ascent, anything else, we're game. They've literally played everything else at the moment.
I have the solution for you, right? So if we're looking at it in a kind of more serious note, right? Tyloo haven't played Icebox, they haven't played Sunset, so they'll be looking to kind of avoid those two. Like I said, all gamers will be looking to avoid Ascent. But the biggest thing, and I've now realised why I chose Tyloo, right? I'm sorry for the misclick joke was obviously over my head. I'm looking at the compositions that this team run, and out of the 4 maps at the top, they run Yoru still. And this is obviously it. It's obviously the blue agent meta. It's the bias that just corrupts through my soul. The Yoru is the easiest way to bypass a double controller. You want to throw down a smoke? Fine, I will use that to my advantage. I'm going to flash my way out that smoke and I'm going to decimate you in one swoop. And then I'm TPing the heck out of there.
I mean, Yoru definitely an agent that had a great success rate at Masters, but maybe you're living a little bit of the past. We're seeing the Neon meta start to come through, Veggie. We're seeing Neon make that resurgence. I mean, I love the flexibility that teams sort of have in comps nowadays. You see a lot of different things being ran, and we see the difference between these two teams themselves. One heavily prioritizing Yoru, one prioritizing more that double controller. We're seeing a lot of deadlock out of all gamers as well on various map picks. So teams have that flexibility to really show their style, and I feel like this will be a battle of styles between these two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say battle of style, it's also the battle of the groups, right? We have Alpha versus Omega. It's the first time that these two will go together, this stage at least. And we kind of get to see that message of what group was stronger. It's second versus third place naturally as it comes through. And are they going to see the second place can triumph third, or is the third place of Tyloo going to be like, well, actually, we had the tougher group and we would have beat you naturally?
I mean, it's difficult to know what is the tougher group and what isn't, because you look at Tyloo's games and they played against GDG, who some people are saying were maybe one of the worst teams in this split so far. You know, they also won out against Titan as well, who on very much a downward surge did not do well in this stage. So it's difficult to be like, yes, Group Alpha, Group Omega are better or worse. And I feel like it all depends on the form, and it all depends on how these teams come into this game. You've got a whole stage of matches to watch, of prep to try counter, to try anti-strat. And it's really what these teams have done in the past week that matters.
Yeah, and I think also just to kind of counteract my point, right, is, I don't know if I mentioned, but both of them finished 3-2, right? So it's not like any of them come in with like a serious map advantage. Like both of them got 3 wins, both of them got 2 losses. It just so balanced out.
Love that from you, Veggie. You just argue against yourself. I'm like,
you just need to be here and smile, and I'll counteract both points for us. But like, we're getting to see the Masters Tyloo walk out. We can ignore my arguments, no, because they look kind of confident. I'm kind of down with it.
I feel like at this rate, if anyone's not confident, you've made it into playoffs. What are you even doing here? Like this is, they're 3-2. They both know that they're good teams. They both know that they can compete. I feel like, for me, it's interesting because both of these teams essentially beat the team below them, and then they had one win against what we would classify as a top tier team. And for Tyloo, that was beating Trace, and for the All Gamers, that was beating FPX, which I think for me was the bigger upset. I feel like people expected FPX to be top of the table in Group Omega, to be that team to beat, and the fact that All Gamers had a convincing 2-0 victory against them, for me, is a very good sign going into this matchup.
Yeah, I think when you look back at that Trace victory that Tyloo had, that's kind of one of the things that really upset that group originally, right? We were back here, if we throw back a couple of weeks, when it was down to JDG still had a chance of making playoffs. It was that very last game that could have clinched it for them, but Tyloo got it over the line. They got themselves back here. For All Gamers, like you said, it's a kind of a different path. I'm looking at the groups just now. I mean, that FPX win 2-0 coming in. That's a team that I had a lot of faith coming through. They looked like they were rising on the ascendancy ever since they got themselves into playoffs. Yes, they slipped off a lot, but they were still certainly fat. What are they bringing down there? Is that a pair of socks?
I don't know. Look, anyone comes in wearing socks and Crocs, they've got my vote for the victory. Just that alone would tear it up. But you speak about, you know, the victory that they had against FPX. I remember looking at the prediction sheet for that week, and I think it was literally me and 2 other people out of the casting team that were predicting All Gamers. And the other 2 people were doing it for the beam. I was the only person that believed, and yet here we are, Veggie, 2nd seed.
I can't believe you're coming out here throwing smoke at other talent, saying you were just having a laugh and a giggle. I was taking this serious, but hey, that's where we're going to have a influencer boxing match for VCT Project Horizon casters right now. Snow on the lower card, because we all know he'd get bodied in a second. But talk about being bodied in a second. That's what Tyloo are going to want to do to All Gamers, right? Don't let them get into their flow. Make this a swift 2-0 and just get it over with. But All Gamers will certainly want to prove that this isn't just a fairy tale run that they've been on this stage.
Yeah, I think when we predict what might be happening in terms of this pick ban for the maps. You already spoke about maps that Tyloo might not want to play, but one map that both of these teams I think are going to want to play is Corrode. Both 3 maps on it. They're both good teams on that map. I mean, they play differing comps, they play differing styles, and they're both still trying to figure out the meta on this map. But it is one that they've both shown success on. So I would not be surprised if we find ourselves in maybe Corrode map 1.
Yeah, I'd be down to see that. I think that you're absolutely spot on. It's going to set the tone in terms of how we play through it. Just to kind of go over previous compositions, like we said, all gamers do lean into that double controller, but this is one where Tyloo also favour that situation. The biggest difference is come across with the rest of the composition, really. Both of them have that one. Both of them have that one kind of scan recon. All gamers leaning into Sova, Tyloo leaning into Fade, and then when it's the Sentinels, all gamers are sticking to that deadlock that can provide a lot of value based off your stuns, and then Tyloo go for that Cypher, who's very much that wall bang agent on that map, right? But let's not talk about Corrode, because we don't need to. It's gone. Bye-bye. See you later.
And you know what? Lotus into Icebox, I feel like, personally, it's a bit of an all gamers favored draft, I would say.
Okay.
They just have a bigger map pool in the sense of they've played all of these maps. Haven is the only real big question mark for them because all gamers, they're one time playing Haven. They did lose it. And so it's going to be interesting. I feel like this first map is really going to set the tempo, really going to set the pace for how these teams are going to play.
Yeah, I mean, for me, unless I've done my prep massively wrong, Icebox hasn't been played from Tyloo, and yet they've picked it. This is amazing. This is something that's potentially been hidden the whole stage to bring it out. So you're saying that it favours all gamers. I'm looking at that going, all gamers have no prep. You're talking about their 10-man rosters being able to match into it. We don't know what they're going to bring into this. This is 2-0 Tyloo. I'm sticking to my prediction. 2-0 Tyloo.
I mean, the fact that you think that they're going to win Lotus is impressive from you. I feel like this is a map that all gamers have really shown their prowess on, and they've shown that they know how to play around a Viper. I feel like when they play this double controller on pretty much every map, you get used to the timings, you get used to how to lurk around this agent, and all gamers have had that success. I mean, part of the reason they were shutting down FBX is FBX likes to just play a bit like crackheads. They like to swing through smokes. All gamers were always on point at just matching them when they needed to.
Yeah, but I mean, Viper's pretty much a mainstay on Lotus, right? If you don't know how to play against a Viper on Lotus these days, then how have you been playing Minecraft for the last like 12 weeks? Like, come on, everyone and their dogs playing Viper onto this, and that's why we do see both of them pick up. Interestingly, Tyloo are the ones to pick up the Vice. I'm a big fan of Vice on this map. You see the razor wires coming into real good effect, and that wall has to be dealt with as early as possible as well, just for all gamers to kind of play around the clock.
Okay, I mean, you know, double duelist coming in is going to show that maybe some aggression from all gamers early on, really trying to push the tempo, push the pace within these games. And I think, you know, the thing that is gonna matter to me is how much impact can this Vice have on Tyloo, because it is the only Sentinel in this match. It's going to be very reliant. Tyloo is going to be very reliant on this agent doing a lot for them in terms of stopping this double duelist comp.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it comes down to, especially on Tyloo's defense, of how much time they can buy with that wall. And really, when you reflect back on that, is how much do all gamers push into that Vice, even just off first contact? Because, you know, if you've still got that wall up, whether it's on C or B, you know that site's safe for at least 10 seconds until that wall's then tripped down. So it has to be dealt with early, and for Tyloo, that's a benefit because it wastes as much of all gamers' game plan as possible, knowing that that has to be a factor that gets significantly dealt with and reacted to.
And the funny part about this is Tyloo is playing all gamers' old comp. This is what all gamers used to play, and then they lost with it and decided, nah, we don't want a Vice anymore, we want a Yoru.
I can't really argue with that as the #1 Yoru fan in the world, but buying into Vice. But as this one starts off, it's a fake sail over on towards B, so the spike heading down over to A, using that Viper wall as a little bit of cover to try and get back. It forced all gamers into believing it for a slight second, but with no real pace or issue aggroed on to B afterwards. They're starting to reassess the situation.
And
that Prowler is going to let them know that there is presence outside A, but 4 members moving over towards this A site from All Gamers. They've read it perfectly, but the question is, when the chaos ensues, who will win out the fights?
That paranoia just to give them some space to enter onto site, but still kind of held out at all angles. Will now start making their way in. It's Yo-Yo that gets the first couple of contacts, as well as Ninebody figuring this one back out. It's a 4 versus 1, and Haunch, the super sub, like you said, has it all to do.
And definitely a lot on their plate when it comes to this. Crossfires galore, and not really much hope in the round at all. But a pistol win over to Tyloo. The back of, I would say a slow contact play, but that play happened literally like 30 seconds into the round. They were already looking to walk their way onto site, so not bad tempo from this team so far.
No, absolutely. The one thing I would have been critical of is how slow it was for Tyloo to react to getting themselves onto A, given that pressure that was put onto B, right? We've seen it yesterday on Bind for Liquid with that force that they kind of pushed over on one side, and it was the Omen that was just sprinting down through, trying to get the right clicks to cause as much a distraction as possible, while the rest of the team slow walked onto A. But it was a very slow push from Tyloo, and interestingly that a timeout's been called here immediately after winning a round. Obviously something being said.
It's a tech pause, Reggie. Don't worry.
Is it tech pause?
Yeah, it's not a full timeout. It's not that would be the craziest timeout in history. Yes, yeah, we have had confirmation that it is a tech from our production team. Okay. Yeah, that would be crazy. You lose round 1, timeout instantly. How are we going to deal with these issues?
Yeah, I was like, it says Tyloo 1-0, and it's saying that they've called the timeout. I was a bit lost. I was like, what's going on here? Like, what? We're griefing at round 1 already, getting the thoughts in. Yeah, we 1-0 up. Let's call it, baby.
yeah, that's a real flex, actually. Just waste the timeout second round after you win. But off the back of that, the thing that's going to be interesting to me is what is Tyloo's buy. And 2 Vandals shows me that they're looking to really snowball this match. They want to have a strong third round buy. They know that this round should be a gimme, and they want to make sure that when it comes into that bonus round, they are as strong as they can possibly be.
Yeah, and they start off well with the Raise Seas combo, getting some damage over onto Kira, but unfortunately that health will regenerate, given the grab doesn't stay forever. And you can see that Tyloo are a little bit hesitant to force into their hands. They do not want to give these weapons up willingly. They want to make sure that this is as clean as possible. They're just slowly feeling their way down C while trying to insert some players over by B and A.
The Scales has already found that pick, which means that All Gamers have a lot of questions to answer because they have no information towards A at all. And Tyloo, potentially knowing this, reading the map super well, just rotate their way over there. And you got 4 classics and a dream, but it turns into a nightmare very quickly.
Yeah, they're going to get themselves pretty much for free. They will use some util just to clear it out, just as a safety measure. Like I said, not wanting to give any guns away for cheaply. And now you get that plant in, and it comes down to what the call is for All Gamers to get back on here. They're going to try and split their way onto Hobbit, maybe cause a little a pinch, a custard cream as you call it, sandwiching them in between. But ultimately it's probably a die to spike angle, right? You know you're not going to get any damage done. The weaponry is far too high up. You do not want to feed into Tyloo's orbs to allow the ultimates to start making their way on. Like, they're not even breaking the doors. No, they've called this one already. It's a 2-0. It's just don't feed this team any more than you need to.
The real question is, do any of them have the Sen Classic? Because if that was the case, this is winnable. This is a situation where I'd say you're actually favored in this game, but it makes sense. You know, you want to start this game off nice and slowly, but Ninebody, if they could get some orbs here, this could do them wonders. But it's a massacre as all 4 members sprint towards the spike, and it's a good job to deny those orbs. But when you look at this orb stacking, Yo-Yo already on 4 ult points, and I feel like that is going to be where their priority lies in this bonus round.
Yeah, I wouldn't have actually minded if Yo-Yo had swapped across the Vandal that they had in their hands to go hunting, right? To be that player that tried to get the extra kill, or at least die and get the orb in that sense. The little bit of gamesmanship right off the bat, but like you said, already halfway through into that showstopper is a huge factor, that if they can get that closer to online for the next round or the round after, you start to really snowball it down.
This is such a strong buy for a bonus. 2 full rifles, Bulldog and Guardian. They're not even looking that weak on the side of Tyloo. All gamers have to be scared of this. There's 2 members already going down. Tyloo just pushing the pace, pushing the tempo, punishing an aggressive hold from all gamers.
Yeah, an absolute disaster start here. Spitfires has to do so much to keep the sight, and he'll fail on the first question, and you can see Yo-Yo getting a little bit aggressive, getting a little bit overheated maybe, give Shrimp an avenue to get back in, but Ninebody is all over that one, and Haunch reminiscent to the start of how this match started, so in a 1 versus 3 this time, and has just as much hope as they did before. There is no chance. Just a retreat back to C, save this Vandal, and honestly maybe just call an early time.
This is a scary prospect for the side of all gamers, because not only are you losing your buy round having to go into a save, you look at the ultimate economy. Showstopper's most likely going to be up for your next buy round. They're going to be building towards some of these other ultimates, and the most that all gamers have is 4 points. And yes, it is onto 2 different players, but when it comes to this ult stacking, when it comes to that ult economy, they are definitely behind right now.
Yeah, and they've just allowed an upgrade from a Bulldog into a Phantom, right? Maybe not the biggest credit-wise, but certainly for Tyloo, you're going to be taking every single situation. Where was that dog going, by the way? It goes past and then comes back. Like that's a bit wide from the dog. Kind of sold out Shrimp a little bit, if we're being fair. But you know what? That's what you get when you get taken at the fryer. You get popped in, and sometimes a little bit of a backfire.
Now, this single rifle from Hanch to try be the hero. They were the hero of the season. They did manage to turn all gamers around from that 0 and 5 team to the 3 and 2 team in playoffs we see today. But with only a rifle in their hand. Ooh. Okay, Shrimp. That is definitely a good start to this round, as they're going to upgrade to a rifle. They're going to back away as well. And Tyloo going to have to slow down the pace.
Yeah, giving all gamers a small avenue back into the game. It's very small, but it's certainly a percentage chance that they will take. Kind of whittles this side down to having to commit to C, given the contact off of A. Not too much pressure there. They'll tap the door on B just to create a little bit of pressure across the map, but you can see all gamers aren't falling for it. 3 players stacked up, and that is the hero rifle over here. The flash comes in, but Yo-Yo is all over it. And all of a sudden, all gamers are falling apart. Shrimp, who started this one off, shows on for a 4K.
What's on for a 4K? They're on for an ace. They're looking to be the absolute hero of the round, and slowly, left all alone, will have to do anything but that. They will need to speed this up and find some kills if they have any hope of winning this one.
30 seconds, so they have a little bit of time to create some pressure, but not too much.
As soon as they tap, it's over. Yeah. It's over. Like, there's so much util still left. They've got satchels. They've got the grab. 2 guns trained on the angle. And stand up, take a bow, get hype, Shrimp, because that round was ungodly.
Yeah, 4 kills, the only dream would have been, but what a way to start, right? Get that first shot off and then fully mow down the rest of the team. Mark your stance that you are here.
Oh my gosh, Veggie.
I think the best bit about that is it's a Phantom that was dropped by the player that was aggressing on A, right? That's where it comes in. We said it was a small avenue back, and my god, it was a gigantic avenue back.
But it can't stop there. Showstopper online for Yo-Yo. Most likely going to look to use this and playing a little bit slower. As I say that, though, instantly coming in with the rocket. Satchels move forwards as well. Somehow Kira's alive, but they just can't find the kill. And it's traded out a 1-for-1, but site has been taken. It's a weird one, though. Tyloo's not quite got the space. They can't feel secure in their site hold just yet.
No, but they're relying on this insert from Ninebody to go through B. But it comes down to the timing of who will make that first contact. It will be Ninebody who gets the kill, and that kind of opens up and causes a little bit of a pain for this all gamer side as they come in. But it's going to be dealt with by Slowly anyway, who does things anything but what the name suggests. A 3K to resume normality for Tyloo.
And I feel like Tyloo are very sure in their set plans at the start of the round and always follow through no matter what. We see them not really looking to take much map presence across the map. They'll just kind of probe and prod their way onto one side of the map, and as soon as they get a bit of space, They're like, we feel confident enough in our site hit to just take this site.
Yeah, it's very much of a let's get the first pick, and then we know that site's going to be a lot weaker, right? Especially when you look at how Lotus typically plays through, and Scales has to be careful here. You do not want to give another weapon upgrade for free. There's nobody to guard that weapon if you do fall. There's 4 bodies chasing you down. Yes, you have 9 body on your team, but you're not going to be able to deal with 4 bodies.
Especially when one of those people looking to get that kill with Shrimp, and we saw what they did when you put a rifle in their hands.
So they opt to come back here. They heard the Prowler that maybe gave some false sense of security over to all gamers, that the presence had been mitigated and no longer there. Thankfully, Kira's going to use that boombot to clear the space once again, and it will trigger some noise information that there's a threat that has to be dealt with. So they'll just back up and use some smokes to contain this for now.
Tyloo has no information on C at all. For all they know, people could be walking up mound and they feel pressured now, feel like they have to make a move through onto site, and B is their option. But it could be a good situation for Tyloo. You look at the weaponry, a judge in their hands, they've got a phantom. If they can maybe pull out some weird and funky smokes, they can make some magic happen here.
Yeah, they still have the wall up from Vice over towards Mount, so knowing that the flank isn't quite an issue. And then you have Scales cementing themselves over towards A, but it's not going to be needed when 9body can just walk up into heaven, meet God themselves, and declare themselves as the God even of this site. It's a force back for all gamers, at least for now.
And what can you even do for all gamers? You play it well. You try to contain. You try to find an angle to get a pick on before you head to this retake. But it's just such a dire situation when players are shooting like this. What can you even do? 3 different people peek. Yo-Yo just wins 3 different fights.
Yeah, brother used the showstopper, last round, and all of a sudden we're halfway to get it back again. These are not the people you want to be feeding, right? If you're looking at this roster, Yo-Yo is not one that you want to let heat up. It's a player that can turn the game on its head, and you can see the fan reactions knowing that that player is getting closer to being the master of this region, of the master of this. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm definitely sure this is a confirmed timeout from all gamers, and they very much needed one as well. And I think what I would love to see from all gamers, and obviously, you know, we have the God view, we see absolutely everything, we see through the walls. All gamers might not know this, but Tyloo's not spreading the map. They're only playing 2 out of the 3 sites at once. They are leaving big gaps in their attack that an all gamers player could potentially look to insert in, could potentially look to flank through. But the question is, do they know that?
I mean, that's what you're paying the coaches for, right? If we're being brutally honest, that's what the coaches are here to do. That's what they have to be identifying in that timeout. That 10-man roster has to start stepping up and earning its money, earning the big bucks that Snow has been praising them for, and rightly so up to this point. But now we get to see if they can fight back against the adversity, and Tyloo look set to just rinse and repeat this same game plan of hitting one site while inserting one on the others, and see where that first contact comes and then exploit after that.
A buy round for all gamers, but that can be negated in an instant by 9body. That Visal is online, force you into using your secondaries. On the flip side, Showstopper and Dimensional Drift could be comboed, a very powerful set of ultimates for all gamers that they could use to just force themselves into a round. But the question is, are they going to find that opening pick? Or is it Tyloo that's going to find that opening yet again?
Yeah, well, all gamers doing a really good job of holding on to that A control right now, right? Not allowing anyone to be inserted, but it's going to be the player of Sword 9 that tries to come in. The Dimensional Drift is actually decent here at getting the information. It calls that 3 players are still sat out by C Mound, which means that some positions can start to move across. You look at Kira starting to activate over on towards B. thinking that maybe there's not been too much noise, so heads back through it, but at least the information was gained, and now you've only got 30 seconds left on the clock, so we're getting into Fnatic territory.
It is, and they're split completely across the map, Veggie. They're not even combined together. These two players are gonna have to sprint to meet up with their C players, and if all gamers just knew that there was only one on site, they could find the fight, but they have no idea, as it's actually a rotate towards B. They're pinching in, and Yo-Yo is in the perfect position to be the linchpin, but Hanch has found a much needed kill in a much needed round, but it's Tyloo just battling back every kill this squad gets. All gamers just gets taken out one at a time, and Hanch is looking to be the hero here, but left all alone, it's too much of an ask.
It's like we're watching the Twilight series, Snow, right? It's the same thing over and over again for like 3 books. The same character that's left with the obstacle to overcome, and ultimately it's the same answer that happens. Hanch has it all to do, and despite the series, it's not happening for them.
That round was an M. Night Shyamalan film. Like, we think that they're going to C, we think it's a mistake. No, actually, it's a B split that's coming from A as well. It's the twists and turns in that round had me leaping.
Yeah, but I really like how Tyloo played it, right? They knew that they had not too much control, but they had avenues onto all sites, right? So they just had to wait for that first move to come in. The showstopper from Kira misses and doesn't do as much damage as they would have hoped, and that opened up a small path to success over towards A. The crunch from C was failing, so they pivot onto B, and now you get to see that just forces this AG side back down to an equal once again, and Scales is not going to be handing a weapon over this easy as they did before. They're not going to give Shrimp a way to pick up a free gun and find some success.
Well, we would have had to go huge there if they were to find anything. But it's just all gamers all trying to be the hero right now, and
oh my,
somehow 2 of them have made it work. Almost a collateral right there, as a 3 versus 3 situation. Rifles being picked up as well. It's not looking too shabby for all gamers right now. But as I say that, the Viper's Pit might just mark their doom.
Yeah, makes this one a little bit more challenging. Puts the orb outside just to kind of expand the reach as well, but with the way this pinch is coming in, Shrimp could be a thorn in the backside, but is going to have to get through that one way, which, without using util to give away the position, is going to be insanely hard. It's going to come down to how all gamers can cause the distraction through Garden. They start to make their way in here and hopefully pull some eyes away from this back of sight.
Yo senses that there could be a player there. The Molly and the util, they're all starting to come through. Shrimp is trying to be the distraction, but the time is just dwindling down. Is there still one player left alive, and it's that Viper in a key position? Shrimp, you just have to land the shot, but there's not enough time for the defuse. And in a round full of chaos, Tyloo manages to calm the storm and find themselves that 7th round.
Yeah, a little bit chaotic, a little bit messy for the side of all gamers. They'll take some positives from that, right? They managed to successfully navigate their way back on site, but ultimately time had dwindled far too low, and Tyloo were able to handle it from there. Oh, I mean, it's such nice shots coming in, right? This is what you want to see from this team.
Yeah, but it didn't matter at the end of the day, Reg. Like, no. If they land the nice shots, it doesn't matter. They need to do that on their rifle rounds. Their ecos, their sheriffs, they're doing so well, but we need to see more in this.
Oh, what a lovely position.
And the Spitfire is just doing exactly what I asked for, trying to find that flank spot, but Tyloo's just one step ahead.
Yeah, the benefit is there was a trade, albeit on the other side of the map, with Scales being dealt. All gamers now realising that every single round, that Viper wall is going to be a massive set of hurdles to get over, that somebody is going to try and play around it, and they just need to hold on to it for the time being. But now they've caused the distraction, you can see that Tyloo are considering going back across. They leave the operator on the floor, opting to not throw it off the map instead, giving them a chance for all gamers to claim that back if need be.
A bit of util to show some presence towards A, but a jump peek from Del B will let them know that there is nobody here just yet. as it's going to be a B hit yet again. But no, a second fake. They're faking back, forward, coming through again. We don't know what is going on as the showstopper leads them in, but it will not matter. As I was almost ready for All Gamers to shut this attack down, but it is Tyloo just finding that site yet again.
Yeah, it's the Shrouded Steps finding value to cross over on the back of the showstopper as well. Keeps them in this winning position, but there's still an avenue for All Gamers. Yes, they have the lower health, but there's certainly time to come in. All three positioned on site. They just need to identify that and find the first point of contact. And this paint shells could be it.
It's a very good paint shells to split them up, but Kira has to find the kills, has at least forced it into a 1 versus 1. One bullet will do it, and that is all Sword will need. There's 8 rounds on the board now. It is just a flood that this All Gamers squad cannot stop, and the all-important question is, do you take that second time out? In that position, it's just so hard to deal with. What do you even do there?
Yeah, I mean, that's just rough, right? The showstopper actually goes past and hits the wall at the back to take down the player. Kira gave that a really great effort, but ultimately, Sword 9 decided not to bring the sword to the gunfight, brought the gun, and did put that final bullet in. You can see All Gamers using their second timeout, Snow, and this just bodes such unfortunate for them on their own map pick. 8-1 down, having to use 2 timeouts before the end of the first half. It's looking a little bit risky.
3 rounds left to potentially make some kind of dent in this lead that Tyloo has. The best you're looking at is an 8-4 finish, but it's at least workable. But like All Gamers, confident in this double duelist comp, and the difficulty has been that they don't have the ability to stop these side pushes, so they have to make these aggressive plays, because if it gets to a situation where there is just a flood of players from Tyloo running in, all you really have is a Viper molly, and if Viper isn't on that site, you got nothing else to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? You do fully rely on that Viper being that pseudo sentinel and really being able to delay the push, but ultimately, when Tyloo just decide to collapse on you, they are more than capable of doing that. And right now, they're just outgunning All Gamers as well at majority of the points, right? Apart from a couple of nice shots coming through, it's been all Tyloo traffic. They will send it a little bit quicker this time on towards A. Try and deal with a side that's been holding down minimally. They'll get the first contact, and you can see the bodies having to rotate over immediately.
At least a position that is okay for All Gamers if Tyloo was to commit towards A, but we see that they're questioning already, creeping back, know that there could be a potential little rat player like Kira hiding with a shotgun and just deciding not to take the risk.
Yeah, that raise is pushed up every single time on A, but yeah, this time it won't be seen.
I mean, that's just the story of this game. That is just the story of this game. I feel like All Gamers just missing some key important shots in some rounds that could have got them victories.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get a second chance at scales here, a second lump at the bite, but Shrimp, it's always Shrimp that comes in. We'll get that body. Spitfires is going to get caught out, and now all of a sudden it's the 2 A players that are left to deal with this 4 that's over by C. And you've got to know they're going to be pushing from behind, right? That's where the weapon was. It was dropped. You can hear the steps coming in, and slowly's in a very strong position to deal with this. But we'll get forced off thanks to the boombot. We'll draw the paranoia out as well.
Good luck retaking Mound with a Bucky, Kira. That's definitely going to be a struggle.
As both satchels.
Yeah, true, but I feel like it's the Sheriff they've swapped over to, but as the time dwindles down, there's just not really anything to do. Trying to get some consolation kills at the very least, maybe build towards that showstopper. But it's going to be Sword just cleaning this round up, and that last round wasn't the round that All Gamers was focused on. That was their save. This is the all-important round for them. If they are to make any dent in this lead, it has to be on this round right here.
Yeah, I think that the one silver lining, if we can call it that, for All Gamers is the agent that gets the 2 kills at the end already had the ult built up, right? So you're not feeding into another ult cycle for them. But while I say that, we are aware that Tyloo do have at least just that one ult, right? I thought they had more. I won't lie. I thought they had more. 9body was the one that would have been hoping to get those ult orbs, but Instead, at least it's just a Nightfall that you've got to worry about.
Pit used over towards C is going to force this Tyloo squad to move towards A or B. And the pressure is matched by all gamers. They've got a triple stack here ready and waiting. And a couple of ultimates to work with. One off for that showstopper. If they could get an orb for Kira, this could be huge for this squad.
You get that showstopper online to deny when this comes in, but instead the Nightfall finds its value. The showstopper will be available, but Yo-Yo is not going to let that happen. Collects 2 kills on the site, and now they just need to get the spike to follow up, but it's trapped outside the door.
Shrimp's ready and waiting though, ready to find this kill, and it's all gamers that are finally looking like they have a lead in a round, as slowly with the teleport realigning the angle, but Shrimp isn't even there, just playing it safe, not even taking the risk, and finally all gamers manages to get a second round on the board.
I genuinely can't help but feel that was griefed by Sordine not being through into Garden, right? Had all the time in the world to get through there, but instead opted to stay outside for the time being, maybe worrying about having to pivot afterwards, but just took too long to get onto site. Didn't give your team the chance to play for the post plant. Instead, the plans fell apart quickly, and you give all gamers a round that they weren't really looking like they were favoured to be in.
I'd love to see some aggression again from this all gamer squad. That aggressive pit that they put in the last round forced Tyloo to go towards the other way. But his Spitfire's playing an aggressive angle, so he just swings out. Just swings out the smoke, doesn't care that it exists. But on the flip side of the map, Kira has managed to find and nullify that advantage. And it has reset the round for us ever so slightly.
Yeah, Scale's getting a little bit too predictable to be walking up there, and allows Kira the chance to deny that A pressure. But off the back of that, you will see Tyloo just say, okay, actually, we might have lost A control, but let's take it back as quick as possible. Let's force Kira into an uncomfortable position and crunch in towards B. You can see where the tags are up with the wall as well. Only one player defending. The Into the Shadows stuck, committed into the behind, which is going to make this a little bit more deadly.
Showstopper has been used, but the Into the Shadows slowly moving forwards, finding these picks as they're needed, and the Showstopper will net absolutely nothing. And how do you retake? There's so much space from this Tyloo squad.
You've only got one path that's unguarded, and right now Yo-Yo's on top of that as well. Takes down the first contact, and now it's down to Kira and Shrimp. Very little util, only a haunt that's going to be used to clear out this back alley, and nothing else, just pure gunfire to get themselves back into this 4-man hold.
Look how much they have to clear though. Every angle has a potential player waiting. Not only that, it's a 2 versus 4. You're going to have to go huge. The swing out is massive, but it's crossfires galore. Every single player has somebody ready to trade, and it is just perfection from Tyloo as a 10-2 shows us that maybe Group Alpha was the stronger group after all.
Yeah, this all gamers' belief that you came in here starting to fall apart a little bit. The only slight benefit for them there was the paranoia was used to clear waterfall and nobody was there, given a small opportunity, a small window into hope. But Tyloo just all over it when it comes down to the push out. A very clean attack in half snow, but the only kind of subsidy that you get is, does it relate over to the words of defense, right?
It's a difficult see because on the one hand, all gamers going to be really happy. I feel like their composition suited more towards attack. They've got that double duelist. They have more options in terms of playing different parts of the map and having that Yoru TP over. But on the other side, Tyloo has that vice. And the one thing that all gamers could never really do is have that stopping power when it came to not letting Tyloo just sprint onto site. And Tyloo has that. They can stop you all they want. They have vice. They have the ability to just slow you down whenever they need it.
Yeah, and I think the other issue that all gamers are going to have to deal with here is this is a must-win pistol, right? You talk about how momentous and momentum can swing the game. Well, if you don't win this pistol, you're basically GG'd, right? You're one round away from losing straight off the bat.
Just sub in all 5 players. You got a 10-man roster. They're sitting there watching. They're ready and available.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I would just do it at this point. Just swap them over at halftime anyway. Pretend it's a preseason football friendly. Get everyone rotated out. Let's just what? How can it be worse?
I mean, yeah, a lot of question marks going into that second map, as it will be Icebox, and we will be heading to it after this. But for now, we have to move our focuses towards the second half of this first map. And you spoke about before, Veggie, a much needed pistol. This is one you cannot afford to lose for all gamers. And so far, only Shrimp sitting on double digits for this team. Somebody else has to step up and lighten the load.
Yeah, they've allowed Spitfires to create a whole load of noise with almost absolutely nothing to draw so many bodies out of Tyloo. It gets the first kill, but B has been given a way of control. Unfortunately, that Vice Wall is going to allow a little bit of time.
Throw the spike over. Throw it over. give it to me. But the time that they take to creep forward on that, I mean, it does give them this space. But like you said, number disadvantage. They're going to have to find a kill. They have to go aggressive. And it's actually the B fake into C. But Tyloo is only 1 step behind them.
Is it? They get shot at the back and they're like, wait a second,
back to B
where
again.
are we going? We're in the London tube system for the first time ever, and we don't know what way to go. We're trying to get to the central line, but all I can see is the Hammersmith and City. But at least they find a way through.
Yeah. You've never seen this before. The A to B to C to B back to C, to full-on marathon sprint. This is an Iron Man and a half, and Ninebody somehow getting kills with the right click, and Scales here to back them up as well. Only 10 health points, but it is on Shrimp. They have been the hero before, but can they do it again?
10 HP and slowly has regen armor. This is going to be really tough. Like, we talk about situations that can turn a game. If Shrimp can win this one, the confidence that would rise just based off alone on there. They're playing from Waterfall. They can hear the steps from Scales on the water, but just like that, it will be done. And so one thing I wanted to point out there is I think what actually happened was all gamers had such fun on defense that they wanted to run back into defender spawn and start playing again from there.
Okay. They were like, run it back. Let's try it again. Let's try it one more time.
Restart the whole game.
Yeah, it was actually... Yeah, we actually just have to chrono break this game. We have to rewind it back to the start. But I feel like that round, that pistol round, shows maybe that all gamers are a little bit nervous. I mean, a lot of these players aren't going to have experience in the playoffs. Maybe they're feeling the pressure because they are missing shots that we would not see them miss.
The expectation of not being a 0-5 team finally catching up to them. And I mean,
what? Yeah. Excuse me, Ninebody. You can't just do that. I mean, it is an anti-eco, but it won't matter as 2 sheriff shots find their mark, and just like that, all gamers has a bit of hope in this round.
Yeah, it's a very winnable round, right? Two stingers on the board, 2 bulldogs back on. You're about to get the spike down, force this into a 3 versus 4 retake, and when Yo-Yo only has a judge, if you can start to get yourself off and play from mound, that's going to be impossible to deal with. We'll get the paranoia and the paint shells out of the way. There comes the judge. Does get one, but that's all it will get for now.
Slowly. 14 and 4 so far has been a menace in this game, but only a stinger to work with. And Spitfires secures a needed round for all gamers. Why win the pistol when you can just win the eco, Veggie? That's the way to go, right?
The comeback is on. Got to start from somewhere, and looks like this could be it.
Nah, that's mental. That's not allowed. That's not allowed.
Yeah,
that's a crazy shot to hit. And yeah, like you said, the comeback has to start somewhere, Veggie. It could be right here, as now should be a gimme round for all gamers.
Yeah, I feel like even that last round might serve as like a talking point for Tyloo, that they can't just take this one as unserious as it looked. You can't just allow them to collect free weapons and maybe be a little bit too aggressive. But instead, they're going to be extra aggressive given the lack of weaponry. The paranoia up onto A and try and clear themselves out. But It's going to be Scales that is walked out of B and collects 2 free kills.
What? No! It's a save! It's an eco! It's a thrifty, Reggie! What? I mean, it is a perfect crunch. Yep. And it is so unexpected. But I cannot believe that it came at such a decimating round mentally for all gamers. I mean, they expected to win that one to start the snowball, and they just get destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, you can see them anticipating the push that's coming from A, right? But everyone just seems to forget about every other aspect of the sites, and it just allows Ninebody to walk up, get the kills. Scales gets a couple. All of a sudden, we're on match point. We're looking like we're going to be heading to Icebox after a dominating start from Tyloo, unless all gamers are going to give us the comeback of the year.
Listen, if anybody's been watching EMEA, there's a small team known as Gentlemates that have a tradition of throwing when they are at 12 rounds, and all gamers will be praying that Tyloo's VOD reviews have been on Gentlemates and how to replicate that game style.
Just throwing shade at Gentle is crazy.
Hey, look, you do it once, it's an anomaly. When you do it 3 times, it's just a pattern at that point.
But what else happens 3 times in a row? Well, Tyloo winning rounds. That's typically how this one goes. The paranoia over on towards A is going to stop this push for now. Tapping on the door, and meanwhile all this is going on. Scales has got away rent-free, taking down Haunch. They started to read into how Scales was playing on that first half, but now that the sides have switched, it's a different story, a different angle to deal with, and Tyloo are all over this one. 3 bodies left, 3 hopes to keep themselves in this map of Lotus, and we're going to be hoping for Kira to go massive to win it.
Grimp finds a kill, finds any kind of hope in this round. Delby's in a good position as well, and maybe it's not over just yet. 10 seconds left, spike being planted. Everybody knows exactly where it is, but it's all about the gunfights now. The Nightfall's been used, but is it enough? It gives them a bit of space to work with, but Scales is just hitting every single shot, and Tyloo finishes this game with pure dominance.
Yeah, not an aspect that any of us thought we were going to be looking at coming into map 1, given how all gamers have been on this map, right? You look at Tyloo, 50% win rate before having only played it twice early on in the season. You mentioned Tyloo using AG's old comp. Well, sometimes the past is better than the present, and there is no time like now for all gamers to start to look at how they can turn this around.
I just think mentally they just weren't checked into this game. I don't know, I'm watching some of the plays they make. They're making the same plays that they were doing this season. They're just not hitting the same shots. And there are a few rounds where they're literally shooting somebody in the back of the head and just whiffing 3-4 sheriff shots in a row and throwing away rounds that could have been won.
Yeah, I like how you say they were missing sheriff shots, because about 60% of the game, that's all they were able to use because they'd lost so much. It's not even that they had the opportunity to really show what they could do on their rifle rounds, because majority of the time, it was just poor economy the whole way through, and that's what happens when you fail to convert any rounds.
And I feel like that was the issue as well. They would often put themselves in these weird buys where they're buying sheriff and armor, which meant that the next round they didn't have as much utility to use, and they weren't fully committing to these buy rounds, and it just was like this weird snowball effect where they didn't give themselves an actual equal numbers, equal force round where they had the ultimates, where they had the weaponry to actually convert.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to see at least what the team comms were from Tyloo here.
A 点丢雷，经济，避开狗，我们 TP 他拿前点了。好，我们准备 J 看，好了吗？你踢过去是吗？我不踢了，你们直接给吧。来，准备3、2、1，开狗。屏障生成。突破没有，能拉出来吗？他续约了。抢一木箱，我丢一眼。丢。用手2A 在顶，扎他妹和欧门。能把前面拿了吗？你们把前面拿了，我跟张正换位置包个。炸弹妹欧门在顶啊！我躲闪了，悠悠，我在后面。开压门。雾化终止。准备给我开。可以别漏动静了，别漏了。那油烟我来打好吧？
我准备废 K 了，我废了。
丢远了。我们3人打 T 吗 ？T 开大，
顶着 A 前点，开大了。
开大，开大，
不要了。
哎，前点没动。
T 开大，我们等我一会儿，等他大没有。
他们没狗没大了。 他们 A 前点还顶着的，别急，我再拿一轮信息，我马上有眼，你们还是准备打 C。
带张上去 A 前吗？
在瀑布解的面具。
OK， 带我去。我们可以把城压慢点，但他们有大的。还有眼吗？
有。
就看到我从张上过去，丢这里就行了，丢这里就行。
时间30秒。
你给我掰去吗？
等下可以打 B，如果你们要夹的话，也可以打。
你们等下能夹 B 吗？
哎，两个。
打 A， 打 T， 我给压。
我夹 fake C 打 B。打 B。
打 B。A 点来一个，可以进 B， 可能有2个 B。A B 连一个 ，A B 连。他没来，他开大了。
加2楼。
取消。
好，那就在 A B 连，我们在 A B 连没误。我踩到楼去了。看 A B 连。2 B 连。101。2楼是我的。2 B 连。
A B 连死了。
C B 连
一个。
OK， 能给我看 C B 连吗？有人要开门。
C B 连跟 C 大。
OK， 听左。
C 大死了。
C B 连。
给烟，别怕。
我拿出来加烟了。
100，打100。
好。加1楼，中了。
我看楼。我加烟。
九哥可以找，我们钱多，你快有到了。
nice，兄弟们，
好角色。
No, I don't know about you, but my most important thing that I noticed there was how relaxed the coach was, just sitting at the side, just. Yep.
I mean, you saw the game that was, right? Like, you would be relaxed yourself if you're just sitting there, like, yep, we're 7-1 up. Let's just keep winning rounds, I guess. But Yo-Yo is going to end up being the MVP. I feel like it's interesting because Yo-Yo, massive performance, but I wouldn't have been surprised if 9body swiped this away, just because the amount of insane clips that player had in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could have almost gave it to anybody, right? If we're being honest on that Tyloo side. Scales had moments where it looked like it was going to be them, and then ultimately started just being a little bit too predictable. But Yo-Yo was just that constant factor throughout. Constant entry was just there every single time. It wasn't that duelist that kind of liked to play back. They weren't afraid to be that person to force the site open for them, open it like a tin of beans and spread it across your toast in the morning. They were certainly woke up and ready to go.
And you look at that Tyloo team, everybody's fragging. There's no weakness to target from all gamers. There's no like one side of the map where we can go to that side because they have a weaker player there. Everybody from Tyloo was popping off. I was so confused just for a second because I was like, nobody had 20 kills, but it's because everybody was sharing that load. And look at that from Tyloo, 10 plants, 10 converted rounds. That is crazy efficiency.
Yeah, but I mean, perfection is what it is, right? And it's when you pull out a result like a 13-3, that's what you're expecting to see and what you are going to get to see. But an absolute masterclass from Tyloo on their opponent's pick. This is where things get a little bit different, though. So we head across to Icebox, a map where we haven't seen Tyloo play. So I'm interested to see what they're going to see. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we're going to keep, like every good chapter, a cliffhanger is going to be thrown in because we're going to take a short break and come right back with map number 2.